My interest in the Saint Paul Winter Carnival actually began when I was 2 years old and didn't even know it. My dad was on the Vulcan crew in 1951. He became Fire King in 1956. At that time, of course, they kept it a secret who the Fire King, who the crew members were, until the final unmasking. I went to St. Luke's grade school, and there was a school assembly, and I got called up, and some of my friends, and these masked men asked us who we were, what our names were, and then did a special knighting in front of all the other kids in the school assembly. And I thought, wow, this is pretty neat. When I got home after school, I was telling my mom about it, and all of a sudden, the fire truck shows up out in front of the house, and the men get off the truck, and they're still in their uniforms, and they come into the house. And they start taking off their goggles. Well, they didn't have goggles, they had masks at the time, and their rooster hat and their cape, and started to sit down, and I was wondering who all of a sudden I recognized my dad was the Fire King. And boy, did I feel proud knowing now who the Fire King was, even though it's supposed to be a secret, and I couldn't tell my friends. So that kind of started my interest in the carnival. My dad was heavily involved in the early formation of Fire and Brimstone, and so it actually wrote the initial bylaws, Fire King guidelines and the crew guidelines. As I got older, and at age 25, I had the opportunity to apply to be a Vulcan. And I was chosen for the 1975 Vulcan crew. I was 25 years old. I had the opportunity to run for the board of directors and ultimately become president of our Fire and Brimstone. When I had the opportunity to videotape the crews, what I always wanted to make sure that I did was to get into the school, because I knew that they'd probably be knighting one of their kids or grandkids or something like that. And that experience to capture on video when they've called forward the child of one of the crew members, and generally they'll have the child sit on the knee of the crew member. Well, that crew member's the child's father. The child doesn't know it at that point. After the knighting, the Fire King may say, do you know who your knee you're sitting on? And of course they don't know. So at that point, the Vulcan raises his goggles and looks at his child. And it's amazing to see that child well up with pride and tears and excitement that that person's dad is a Vulcan. And that was what I got the joy out of, capturing that moment. I have had numerous people come up and thank me that there was something that they had. It may not have been the best quality, but there was something that they could remember their 10 days of carnival. I knew Sal and Corky LoBaido. He was a North Wind. They were fun people. They were tremendous supporters, giving back to the community, and of course part of the Venetian Inn, the Vitale family. That was a big thing. I had my Fire King's dinner at the Venetian Inn on Rice Street back at that time. I was not thinking I should be a Sal and Corky LoBaido award recipient. I tried to stay in the background and do my little thing to keep promoting Carnival, to keep getting people involved. I'm very thankful that I got the award. Didn't know I was getting it. I understand you need to be nominated to get it, and I'm not even sure who nominated me, but thank you very much. The idea behind the whistle, just a general whistle, was when you're going to an establishment and you want your crew to rally around and it's noisy. When my General Flamus, John Myers, who was a tremendous supporter of Winter Carnival, He knew the history of the Winter Carnival inside and out. And he had passed away in 2005. And like I say, there's a brotherhood, there's a bond. So when we got to the cemetery, the coffin was being lowered down. And remember when I said early on, the whistle was to come to the whistle? This meant you're released from the whistle. So that releasing a Vulcan of the whistle was so moving at the time. The tears, everyone knew what the whistle meant. It's now time to release the following brothers in red from their commitment. Bill Peters, Prince of Soot, 1984. Last whistle, February 17th, 2024. The last whistle now is used during our conclave, our Thursday night formal dinner, that any F&B member that has passed away during the year, a table is set, their picture is put at that table, and then at the appropriate time during the conclave, the names are read of those members who have passed away. They're released by the whistle. And then I blow the whistle 3 times to release them from the whistle. It's important to keep a tradition alive. When you realize that this started in 1886, and the bond and camaraderie that you have with your brethren is lifelong. And so we want to show up to keep that tradition alive.